What's up, everybody? How you guys doing? This is Mark with We Trade to Travel. A little under the radar, so you might hear me cough or sound gross this whole video. But let's get into it. We got NZ, INSY. This is a NASDAQ stock that started to break out, once a month breakout. And this was running because OTCs were running on marijuana craze. This one was a biotech though, and it was granted designation for its cannabis oral solution. Now I decided to play this one because it was a multi-month breakout because I felt more comfortable playing it. And even though I took a loss on this one, it wasn't a bad trade. Still had good lessons from it, and it was overall a good trade because I had good upside percentage for my entry. Now my thinking was, well, let me take you back to this 1 year chart. So I put these two resistance lines here because I didn't know what was really resistance. I don't know if it was this one because it had topped out here a couple times, 1, 2, even 3, or if it was this one because it had gapped up here and just failed. So I put those two lines because I wasn't too sure what was my breakout level. Now we go to an intraday chart, 5-minute. I'm in here at this candle, and what I saw was a red to green move. This was the top line you see here, and this was the bottom line. So it was kind of in this channel, opened here and got rejected, and then dipped here at this support. So when it broke here at this red to green move, I thought it was gonna rip because it already broke out multi-month resistance and it's starting to hold it. Now, what I didn't do right was I didn't respect my risk level. I didn't have a bad entry because it was a red to green move, and I did have good risk because this candle was my risk level at 10.19 and it never broke below my risk. Never did. Should have never gotten out. Should have just rode it, but I expected a bigger rip. Honestly, I expected it to go from 10.50, hit 11.50, no problem, quickly, but it did. It just took forever. I don't have patience like that sometimes, and that wasn't really my original goal. Now, what had scared me out was on this 3-minute time frame when it broke out, it just couldn't hold, and it had this one hard red candle, and then it had a second hard red candle, and the second hard red candle really scared me because it was the second one, and it broke below this 9 and 13 EMA, and I thought it was going to take out the parabolics. So I exited for a 10.34 or quick loss. I wanted to cut losses quickly, didn't want to start off the year with a bad trade. So I just rather getting out below my risk. I thought it was going to break my risk eventually, regardless. So let me get out before it even does that. I didn't think this was going to come back because I thought it was a fake out breakout. But overall, not a bad trade because I ended up being on the right track. Just didn't play it right as I was into it. Go to the 10-minute chart, you obviously see here red to green move, and then it just up trends all day and grinds up, and the next day I could have held all through this and up into the next day, and it hits 14. That was a good 40% win. So I was proud of this trade, even though I lost. I lost 2%, $25. Just letting you know I'm only trading with a $2,000 account, but I will grow that exponentially, believe me. I have big goals for 2018. I had a horrible 2017, but with 2017 came some good lessons. 2018 is gonna be my bitch. So we got NZ, THC, BF. This was an OTC stock that I played marijuana running. What I saw here, 1 and 2 resistance, broke this long-term resistance nicely. Especially the break over $1. That's always huge when it breaks over $1. It's a magic number. So instead of chasing the other stocks that were already up 3, 4, 5 days, I decided I wanted to play this one because it was only the second day of the breakout. Got in here at 172 and obviously exited at 198. Beautiful exit. I could have exited even higher, could have got even more money. But that's not what I'm in for. I'm in just to win, add my gains, 15%, 15%, 15%. I'm adding that up and it's going to keep going. And $55 will turn into $200, $300, $500 a trade. That's my goal for the year. I'm not trying to win big just yet. I'm trying to grow my wins, take singles, and eventually a home run will come. So second day of the run, and I thought this was gonna keep running, and the second day could lead to a third red green day. So I don't really have much risk to worry about on this one, I felt. So I wanted to get in at any substantial kind of dip, and sure enough, that's what I did. Stock opened and tried to spike at the open, but couldn't. So it came down, dipped. Well, not really a dip, but it had this base here, and it started uptrend. And once it did break out over the morning highs, this high broke out, then it came down and held that as support. So I was like, that's a beautiful risk level. I have to use it as my risk, especially at a dip. So I got in here 172, was risking 16, or was that 155, I believe. And sure enough, when it dipped, I just felt that it was going to grind up all day, break this high, and just keep going. And sure enough, that's what it did. See, even better on this 5-minute, it was really what picked my entry. Is it held this 9 EMA, and it just kept grinding. And even though it came down, I wasn't even thinking about selling because it continued to just grind up and make lower lows. And eventually, it broke out some more and kept going. In 1 minute, I just take pictures, I just track each one of my trades, take screenshots of each one of my trades with every time frame that I can, just to get a feel. Because not just one time frame is going to help you enter a trade. You got to look at multiple time frames. You got CNET, the big winner of the week, went from dollar something all the way to 11.50. It's kind of crazy to see stocks do that. But in this market, it's very well possible because this one was a blockchain, and as well as marijuana is running, so is anything that says blockchain in the article, in the PR. We have CEOs tweeting just the word blockchain and the stock ramps up. So that's what kind of market we are in right now, and it's good because we could take advantage of stuff like that. So I was in this big green day. Had news with Jensen Technology, blockchain mania, and I had a low float. So always looking at low floats. Low floats are always key. So going to a 3-minute time frame, what I saw here is a break over pre-market high. It's really all I saw, and if that's all I saw and I should have seen that, I should have never got in. Saw a pre-market high breakout, but I didn't want to buy the breakout, which made no sense now that I'm thinking about it. Because if I didn't want to buy the breakout, and if it didn't break out, then that means it's a fake out breakout. And that just makes no sense to get in a fake out breakout because I got in at this dip. And I thought this dip would lead to, ramp up again, but it never did. And what I did wrong here was risking this candle, and when it broke below my risk, I stayed in. My risk was 320, and I exited at 353. But when my risk was 320 and it went down to 280, why would I have not cut my losses quickly? That's where I had messed up. First, I had a bad entry. Second, I didn't cut losses quickly. So even though I made profits and even though I was in this trade and it was the biggest winner of the week, it was a horrible trade. I was in early when it was already up 179%. So once it did hold this base, and this was holding this pre-market lows, holding the lows at the morning, it held, it's holding its highs. And going into midday, it's starting to ramp up. So when it starts to ramp up midday, holding its highs with blockchain news, that's going to set up for a squeeze. I didn't really think to hold longer because I was down big when it went to 280. And then I came back and I was up 16 cents a share. So it just didn't make sense for me to risk it coming back down and then taking a loss. And I didn't deserve to win. I stayed here. I should have held when it came ramped up and flagged here and could have sold at 5, but I was just happy to walk away with some kind of profits because it was a bad trade. Like I said, I was in at 337 and I didn't cut losses when I should have because it went all the way to 280 and I was going to be down a good substantial 10% of my account. So I didn't deserve to get lucky if I exited so quickly. But yeah, like I said, you have this little run up and it's holding its gains. It's failed here, but it's still holding the support level, and it ramps up. That's going to lead for a squeeze, especially midday with the volume coming in. And this thing just ripped hard. I was not expecting a rip to 1150. I exited, and when I get to work, I check on it, and it's already gonna break out at 5. And I'm like, wow, this thing's crazy. It's going to 5. And then I look at it 5 minutes, 10 minutes later, and it's at 6. I'm like, what the hell? That's it. And then I look at it power hour, and I'm looking at it at $9, and I'm like, oh my god, this is crazy. But that's the kind of market we are in to this today. It's a beautiful market. 5% win, but it should have been like a 5% loss or a 10% loss. So I'm grateful that I walked away with profits, but I just learned the wrong lessons. But I see that. So I'm going to take that and I'm going to learn from it. Got THCBF again that I played. This one was this was the same stock that I played the first time. This one, the marijuana stocks were dipping at the time. Jeff Sessions, our attorney general, had came out and it was a negative PR about marijuana. So that's the reason for these dips, and they were already up a ton, 3, 4, 5 days. So they had to come down and dip at some point. I just felt that a hot sector isn't going to die so quickly. And now these other marijuana stocks that were dipping at the open, they dipped, and when they bounced, they end up falling again. But this one was different. This one didn't fail. This one ended up holding and bounced nicely. Like I said, this one was the least overextended. So when it dipped, it didn't have a lot of room to really fall and dip. It could have held, came down and held here, but I saw had support. It came up, resistance, came down and then broke out on one time, then came down here, held a support, and then broke out. Then here's was my entry. It came down and held, and when I saw it start to hold, I was like, hold up, this could really do something, because especially since it already dropped 40%. This, just because this dropped 40% doesn't mean it's going to keep going. This means that people can cover into this, or it could be just a panic, and then it's going to get propped back up. Marijuana stocks are hot. They're not just going to die that quick in one day. I had to execute on this play. They had strong support. 40% drop. It was a no-brainer. And obviously it was because I had a 21% win, which is all that matters. Not the $82. The 21% win is what I look at. So I was in here at 173, got the 1 minute time frame. This is what's going to help on these marijuana dips. These dips, these hard dips. You look at the 1 minute time frame and then begin to expand out. Now when it bought this dip here, it came up to 190 and started to dip down again. I wasn't thinking about selling because I had a defined risk level and I had a very strong support level. When it has strong support, it should hold, but if it doesn't, and your risk level is very well defined, then you should have no problem of cutting losses. So I wasn't worried. It becomes difficult when you have a stock that you don't have a defined risk level. So you start to say, I could give it a couple more cents. And then it starts to dip more, and you're like, I give it a little more. And then by the time you know it, you're down 30, 40 cents a share. This is not good. So that's THCBF. That was a good 21% winner. My best trade of the week. Very proud of it. That's one that Tim Sykes plays over and over. It was one of his highest percentage setups. Now, HTGM was another one of Tim's high percentage setups because it's an earnings winner. Now, this one had, according to the PR, had pretty good earnings. And also what intrigued me was I saw this big run up in March from 225 all the way to 1250 in 2 days. And I thought it would do something similar. I had some volume to come in, I had a nice little breakout on earnings, so I thought its secondary run was inevitable. Not to $13, maybe to $5 at least. So this was a day that I had the big green candle, spiked up pre-market with the news, came down, but it did grind up all day, and then went from 150 all the way to $4. And when it held its gains, power hour yesterday and this day, and then into after hours held its gains, then pre-market dipped, but it never really cracked. It couldn't crack at the open. It started to uptrend here. I thought it could really break out over yesterday's highs. And especially since it was a Friday, I thought it could get some squeeze, a good hard squeeze. People are going to squeeze this. This is a very low float, It's only 7 million. People are short short sellers. They could be really dumb sometimes. And when you get a Friday on an earnings winner, day two, and it starts to break out, those stocks you have to play. Now this one I anticipated it because I saw this day two earnings winner, and I anticipated the breakout over yesterday's highs. I had this little symmetrical triangle here, and once it broke up, I had this little bull flag here. So this 3 minute time frame is what I really use to pick my entry. Broke out this bull flag, and it broke away from this 9 EMA, kept holding it, and a couple minutes later, it didn't take long for me to get a nice little breakout over yesterday's highs, and it ripped all the way to 455. But I did a horrible job because I didn't take profits. I got greedy. I should have took profits because my goal was 340. But once it broke 340, I got greedy and I wanted to make $1 a share and get it at 477, and I never did that. But when I screwed that up, I did make up for it by getting out at 410, because from 455 all the way down to 340 it went, and I would have been so mad if I would have not got out for a profit. But I did. This next time I need to at least sell some of my shares. I really should have sold into this. Should have took a single, and I was really reaching for a home run. But overall, it's a beautiful trade. On this 1 minute chart, you see it break away from this 9 EMA, and then it came down and it touched the 9 EMA and just grinded up over it all day. Like I said, it was the second day. It was a Friday, low float, earnings winner, and it broke out over yesterday's highs, and it has a previous high spiking ability. This was a classic setup, and I loved it. 9% win. I could have had a 15% win, and I should have took profits, like I said. But that's each trade you look at, each trade that you detail, you're gonna find that something, even on your wins, that you could work on. Let me show you guys something. So this is my little trade recap that I do for every trade. This is what's really helped me this last quarter. I started this the last quarter of 2017, and I tracked all my trades. Took screenshots of every single one of them, multiple time frames and spreadsheets, and I've really seen what's working and what's not. What I got to do better. I'm up 9% for the year when I started with $2,000.71, and I'm up to $2,265. 9%, total of $193 for last week. And I just keep growing that. I'm pretty excited for what 2018 has in store for me. If you guys have any questions, if you want to interact with me, if any feedback, any criticism, if you want access to the spreadsheet, I have all this information in here. This is really helpful spreadsheet that I customized for myself. It might not work for you because each personality is different. What works for me might not work for you. But I think the spreadsheet can help a lot of people. If you want it, just hit me up, message me, follow me on Twitter, We Trade to Travel, Instagram, We Trade to Travel. I'm really into this stock market, the stock trading this year. I've been trading for about 2 years, almost 2 years, and this is the first time I'm really working my ass off, because over the 2 years I thought it was going to be easier than what it actually is, and you know what, I haven't made any progress. So it's time for me to stick my head out of my ass and start working. I'm really excited for 2018. Thank you guys for watching. Subscribe. I'm going to be doing this weekly. I'm going to try to have live trades. I'm going to try to do lessons on just anything that I think is helpful. Not just to me, maybe for you guys. And if you have any comments or anything, just leave a comment. Email me. Add me on Twitter and Instagram. Thank you.